Hello, my name is Molly Mingo, a recent graduate from the University of Arkansas's English Master's Program. I majored in rhetoric and composition, and I am currently in South Korea as an English teacher. This project is called Affirming Multilingualism, Creative Critical Literacies, and Multimodal Pedagogy in the ESL Classroom. This essay explores how creative critical literacies, specifically multimodal and digital literacies, affirm linguistic diversity and transform teaching English as a second language in the classroom. The ESL classroom is an ideal space to explore multimodalities through a pedagogy that embraces students' full linguistic abilities in both languages. Rather than treating multilingualism as a barrier, I center it as a resource and source of creativity. Using digital literacies for classroom activities such as personal narrative writing and group projects, while simultaneously weaving students' interest in popular culture, gaming, and social media literacy into my teaching, I encourage students to view themselves as knowledge creators and active agents in shaping language. These practices not only foster language acquisition, but also promote community formation, cultural exchange, and empowerment. Informed by the work of Laura Gonzalez in Sites of Translation, What Multilinguals Can Teach Us About Digital Writing and Rhetoric, I propose that ESL classrooms are uniquely positioned to support creative critical literacies because of the role that multilingual students can play in leveraging their linguistic and rhetorical abilities. Their role as multilingual rhetoricians can reach new heights by bringing digital literacies into the classroom and serve as a way for students to creatively explore their identities and communicate with various audiences. Gonzalez's framework, the revised rhetoric of translation, sees language as a culturally situated, embodied lived performance. She positions translation as a multimodal practice as it encompasses the use of various modalities and technologies and entails the rhetorical navigation of communicative tools to make meaning and accomplish action across languages and cultures. The use of multimodalities emphasizes how multilinguals navigate sites of translation in both digital and physical spaces, where their ability to shift between languages reflects a creative critical approach to writing and communication. In this context, ESL pedagogy should move beyond merely correcting language use, instead, empowering students to engage critically and rhetorically with language and identity. It is with this framework, along with Gonzalez's understanding of translingualism as it rejects false binaries between monolingual and multilingual communication, arguing that all languages are constantly evolving and in motion, that I situate my paper around the idea that ESL students will succeed in an environment fostered around multimodalities, media, and language diversity and identity. My understanding of creative critical literacies began to take shape in two ways during my time teaching English in South Korea. First, I was able to witness firsthand how students' identity and cultural upbringing shaped their linguistic background. My experience teaching English in both the rural public school and an urban private academy revealed stark inequities in access to English education. In rural South Korea, immersive English only classrooms often alienated students with lower proficiency who responded with disengagement and disruption. Without support for their full linguistic repertoire, many fell behind. In contrast, students at the academy, most of whom had additional private instruction, navigated complex English conversations with ease. This disparity underscored the harmful effects of one size fits all, monolingual pedagogy, and deepened my commitment to teaching that affirms students' multilingualism as a resource and not a deficit. Secondly, I also observed how students use multilingual practices outside of class. They constantly blended Korean, English slang, and references to internet culture or K pop. This code meshing was natural and fluid. However, inside the classroom, students often hesitated to speak unless they were sure their grammar was correct. The emphasis on perfect English silenced their creativity. But when I introduced multimodal projects, everything shifted. For example, I asked students to make digital About Me slideshows using both English and Korean. They can include anything they wanted, such as visuals or songs. Immediately, the classroom came alive. Students collaborated, joked, and supported each other. This small change showed me something powerful. When students are allowed to use their whole linguistic repertoire, the classroom becomes a space of joy, creativity, and agency. Incorporating multimodal activities into the ESL classroom provides a pathway for affirming students' multilingual identities and varying levels of English proficiency. As Laura Gonzalez reminds us, to speak ethically about language fluidity means acknowledging the historical and rhetorical context in which such fluidity occurs. For ESL educators, this means designing lessons with an awareness of students' linguistic backgrounds, access to outside resources, and broader socio-cultural realities. Questions such as how old are the students, what shapes their language use, and what digital tools are already familiar to them become essential in crafting responsive and inclusive pedagogy. Multimodal pedagogy expands the ways students can express themselves. Instead of relying only on written text, it invites them to combine images, sound, design, and digital tools with language. In my classrooms, this looked like bilingual slideshows, gaming inspired group projects, and digital storytelling. Each of these activities gave students multiple entry points into learning. They could participate using their strengths, whether that was drawing, designing, coding, or writing. This approach reframes students. Instead of being seen as struggling English learners, they are positioned as creators and designers. They see that their voices matter, that their cultural knowledge is valuable, and that learning English does not require them to leave their identities behind. One particularly effective entry point was gaming. Students were already fluent in English or Konglish gaming terms like start, level up, pause, and mission. They picked these up from YouTube, Twitch, PC cafes, and games like Minecraft, Fortnite, or Among Us. I designed lessons that built on this shared knowledge. In one activity, students worked in groups to design their own video game. They created avatars, set rules, and explained gameplay in English. Because gaming was familiar and fun, even students with limited English felt confident. These projects showed that literacy is not confined to textbooks. It is embedded in culture, play, and daily life. By tapping into students' existing literacies, we can make classrooms more inclusive and more engaging for students of all levels of English. Another powerful tool is digital storytelling. I asked students to tell stories from their lives using text, images, music, and sometimes even GIFs or emojis. This gave them space to make rhetorical choices, which photos to include, which languages to use, and how to present their stories. In the process, they not only practiced English but also reflected on their identities and values. The results were powerful. Students laughed together, learned about each other's families, and expressed pride in their work. Storytelling allowed them to become authors of their own narratives rather than passive learners repeating a script. This approach connected literacy with identity, showing students that their lives and voices had value in the classroom. Many ESL classrooms remain heavily textbook centered. In Korea, especially, the textbook often dictates the entire lesson. Students memorize phrases for exams but rarely practice authentic communication. While textbooks provide structure, they leave little room for creativity or cultural expression. Students may learn what I call scripted English, but this does not prepare them for real world situations. Multimodal pedagogy challenges this. By incorporating performance, storytelling, and design, students gain rhetorical tools they can actually use outside the classroom. They learn to think about audience, purpose, and context rather than just repeating lines from a book. This makes language more meaningful and sustainable. Multimodal pedagogy offers three main benefits. First, it fosters critical thinking and creativity. Students learn not only what to say, but how to communicate using multiple modes: visuals, sounds, gestures, and words. Second, it confirms students' multilingual identities. By validating their home languages and cultural knowledge, we tell students that who they are is enough. Third, it builds collaboration and agency. When students create projects together, whether a game, a video, or a story, they learn from one another and take ownership of their learning. These benefits align with the idea of linguistic justice, the belief that all students have the right to see their languages recognized and valued in education. To conclude, affirming multilingualism through multimodal pedagogy transforms the ESL classroom. When we move beyond correction and deficit thinking, we create spaces where students feel empowered to take risks, share their stories, and collaborate meaningfully. Everyday literacies like gaming, digital storytelling, and bilingual design are not distractions from learning. They are powerful resources that help students develop confidence, identity, and communication skills. As educators, we must design classrooms that reflect the multilingual, multimodal world students already live in. When we do, we prepare them not only to succeed in English, but also to see themselves as authors, creators, and global citizens.